Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is August 4th, 2023, and we are getting into the volume 142 of me answering your immigration related questions. As always, before beginning this video, I'm gonna mention I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in this video and on this channel in general are directly from official government sources like USCIS, of course, and the Department of State with their visa bulletin. Also, I'm going to remind everyone that from now on I will be labeling these videos with some of the top questions that are asked in these videos, asked and answered, so that it is easier to find if you're searching through and not just answer your immigration related questions like it was named before. So let's start with the very first comment from Basir Kashani 2162. Hi sir, my priority date is 29 December 2017, visa class F24. So that is a subcategory of the second family preference category, unmarried sons and daughters. So that would be F2B. Chargeability area, country, Afghanistan. I received welcome letter from NVC July 2021 when I will get my interview. If my mom gets citizen, should I convert to F1? Basir, thank you very much for your question. That's a really good question. So let's take a look at the visa bulletin, see what's going on. So you are in December 2017, F2B, so visa bulletin. This is the most recent one for August 2023. If you haven't seen the video, it is on this channel where I go through all of the categories, family preference categories on the August visa bulletin, comparing it to the previous issue. So let's see. We're gonna look at the graph A, final action dates, because Basir, they already received the welcome letter, so by now they should already be documentarily qualified. So looks like right now we have for F2B September 2015. So you are in December 2017, so you're roughly looking at another 2 years. Roughly another 2 years before the availability of the immigrant visa, and of course roughly that's when you're going to have your interview scheduled. Again, you have to keep in mind that there is some administrative processing with the US Embassy, in Afghanistan. Depending on how busy they are, it might take another few months after the availability of the immigrant visa before the interview is actually scheduled. So that's done with the estimate, and it's a rough estimate because visa bulletin, if you're not staying on top of it, sometimes it doesn't move at all, sometimes it retrogresses, sometimes it moves normally, sometimes it moves really good. So you have to stay on top of it, you have to keep checking it and make sure that it's going. And your estimate, obviously, closer to the date, it becomes more accurate. But you still have 2 years, and in 2 years a lot of things can change, hopefully for the better. But as far as your question goes, should you switch to the F1? That is a really good question, and that's a big dilemma for everyone who is in F2B status. And as of right now, if you look at the visa bulletin, as of right now, we see that F1 is actually performing better than F2B because, as you can see, their priority date already on January. Wait, actually, you know what? Let me take that back. It's January 2015 so everybody with priority date back in January 2015 are right now their immigrant visas are becoming available, and everyone with September 2015 in F2B, they're getting their immigrant visas available. So actually, never mind my first comment, F2B is actually performing better than F1 and at the moment, and it's about 8 to 9 months ahead. Actually it's 22nd September, so it's 9 months ahead of the F1. So as of right now, you're definitely better off staying in F2B instead of switching to F1, and you will definitely have that option most of the times once the petitioner becomes a US citizen. If your case is still with the NVC, still processing with NVC, they send you the option whether you want to upgrade to F1. As you can see, as of right now, it's not exactly an upgrade. You're much better off with F2B right now. You're 9 months ahead. But again, because there's still 2 more years, things can change. So keep that in mind, that you have that option. Keep in mind that F2B right now is better, and I would definitely recommend you, people with a situation like yours, every month the new visa bulletin comes out. Definitely make sure that you go through it, you check what changed, what stayed the same, went back, went ahead. If you're not subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing, because every month the new visa bulletin comes out. I discuss all of the family preference categories and for all the chargeability areas and compare it to the previous months. Okay, so let me post a response here and we're gonna move on to the next question comment from Kills J. Once again, Kills J, thank you for being publicly subscribed, appreciate it, and thank you for another comment. So Kills J says, why you said artificial backlog? What do you mean by the artificial, sir? Kills J, thank you very much for asking that question. So that is referring to, in the previous volume, whenever I was answering, actually Kills J's question I was answering, I mentioned the artificial visa backlog, visa bulletin, the backlog that we're dealing with. And whenever I say artificial, I am referring to the backlog that was caused during the closures during the pandemic. The reason why I call it artificial is because the natural, the organic backlog that we have, that we see right now, now it's a little bit hard to tell because now it's mixed in. The artificial backlog is mixed in with organic. But before the pandemic, the original, the actual backlog that was naturally accumulating because of the cap, the availability of the limited availability of the immigrant visa for the 4 family preference categories that are on the visa bulletin. And I will briefly explain the situation. Basically, if you're not familiar with it, basically, according to the Immigration and Nationality Act that was enacted by U.S. Congress, there's a limited availability of the family immigration visas that are available each year annually. That number is 226,000. Obviously, under that 226,000, you have 4 basic, and then obviously each category has a subcategory, but you have 4 basic family preference category: F1, F2, which is divided between F2A and F2B, F3 and F4. Each of these categories has obviously a limited amount out of those 226, and if you want to dig in and actually crunch some numbers, I was never really good with numbers. My math has always been horrible, so I try to stay away from that. But if you really are good with numbers and if you really want to take a look, you can actually see all of that information on the Department of State website. This link is always in the description below with the most recent visa bulletin. So for example, for first preference category, for unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens, there's 23,400 plus any number not required for forced preference. So if there's anything not required for forced preference, which is rarely the case, it is applied to the F1. Again, it's rarely the case. So most of the times, F1 is limited by the 23,400. So that's for all chargeability areas. Obviously, you have to keep in mind that there's limitations between the countries as well. That's the reason why we have 4 separate chargeability areas, besides all chargeability, which is the rest of the world. That's what we call it. So 23,400, right? Divided between the countries, all of the countries out there. Obviously, you can imagine that each year there is way more petitions, I-130 petitions, that are being submitted in the F1 category. A lot of people, a lot of US citizens are petitioning for their sons and daughters who are over 21 to come into the United States and live with them, or maybe they're already here. It doesn't matter whether they're here or there, they will still be going through the same process, the I-130 petition. Very similar process, except one is not going to be getting the, going through the whole, embassy. They will be going through the field office, but it's exactly the same. So if there is, let's say, instead of, we have the 23,000 roughly, right, available immigrant visas each year, and now we have 30,000 applications that are coming for F1 in this year. So now we have that 7,000 that will roll over to the next year, who will be waiting. That 7,000 is that accumulated backlog. The next year happens exactly the same thing. There's rarely a year when there is less applications than there are available immigrant visas, because the number is so low. The whole problem that we are having with this situation is caused because Congress limited the amount of visas that are being issued each year, and every year there's more applications. That is the normal organic accumulation of the backlog. It's not good by no means. It's not I'm not saying it's organic like it's a good thing. No, it's horrible, it's bad. But it is accumulating organically because there is a limitation on the amount of visas that were issued. The backlog that I'm referring to that is artificial, that was caused during the complete closures during the pandemic, and that was about 2 years that US embassies around the world, they were completely closed. They were not issuing any of the immigrant visas. They were not having any interviews. And of course, as you can imagine, you have already that organic backlog that keeps on growing each year. Now, on top of that roughly 2 year artificial backlog that, the decision that US government made to completely stop issuing those immigrant visas. So that's the difference really between the two, and hopefully I was able to explain it. Because Jay, thank you for asking this question, because I guess I was waiting for an opportunity to clarify that. So now hopefully that will be understandable. Okay, let's move on to the next comment. Actually, just a comment. Busy323, very helpful. Thank you. Busy, you're very welcome. Thank you for watching. I'm glad this was helpful. Moving further to Sunrise GP3YM. Sunrise, thank you very much for another comment. Always appreciate your comments. So Sunrise says, first, we're happy you're back. I'm happy to be back too. Thank you very much. Just want to tell you that the payment problem solved by itself. Awesome. That's always great news. My question now, shall I wait till they send me what to do next, or just go to portal and fill up the form? Do you have any videos to how fill up the form DS260? I need to help my mom petitioner and my brother applicant because both not speak English. Thanks ahead. Sunrise, thank you very much for another question. Like I said, always appreciate your comments. So if you have the payment that went through and your DS260 is open and ready to be filled out, honestly, there is really nothing complicated about the DS260. Unfortunately, I don't have the video on this channel, and honestly, I don't think I will ever have a video unless maybe I can find like one of those PDF DS260s as an example. But the thing is, the DS160 and DS260, they are internal forms that you fill out through the, one you fill out through the NVC portal, another one you fill out through the also portal, but that goes through the, obviously the US Embassy when you're scheduling your non-immigrant visa interview. DS260 is for immigration visa interview. So it's really the same pretty much form, because basically in that form you are putting the information for the applicant that is applying for that immigrant. That's for the use of the US Embassy. So it should be pretty straightforward. I would recommend you not worry about it at all. Just go ahead and fill it out. It's really basic information, personal information, name, date of birth, address, physical address, whatever, so far so forth. What they're applying, you're probably not even gonna need to fill out. And another thing that I'm gonna mention, when you're filling out through the NVC, most of the DS260 is already pre-filled with the information. So a lot of stuff, you just need little things to fill it out. Just make sure you digitally sign it and submit it, and that's it. So it's very, very straightforward. But that's a really good idea, good suggestion. If I am able to find some kind of example, I've mentioned in the beginning of my answer that I probably won't be able to do it because, well, the only DS260 or DS160 that I'm aware of is you actually fill it out when you are, submitting your application for a visa, a non-immigrant visa or immigrant visa. And obviously you need to fill out the real information. So that's going to be a privacy concern. But we'll see. If I'm able to do that, we'll definitely do it. Sunrise, definitely keep me updated if you can. I would really appreciate how that goes. And good luck in the process. Looks like it's moving along. I'm really glad to hear that. Okay, let's move on to the next question coming from Getachew Mergia 8949. I'm very sorry, for some reason YouTube they got rid of the names and now they're showing me just the handles. Dear sir, I have a personal question. How can I contact you? Getachew Mergia 8949. I'm very sorry. So because this is a free immigration help, because I'm not an immigration attorney and I don't provide legal advice, I don't do any kind of services or any kind of consultation outside of this channel. Because if I do communicate with people outside of this channel, it means I'm offering some kind of service. It means that I'm offering some kind of consultation. I'm not allowed to do that, which is it's a whole different conversation. We're not going to get into it. I would rather not do that because, you know, I still do want to help people and not make this into the paid service or anything like this, and keep it like this. So if you do have a question, just avoid putting in your personal information, identifying information in the comment. But if you post it here on this channel, I will get to it in one of the volumes, and I'll try my best to answer it. Sorry, but just don't provide any services outside of this channel. And this channel is not a service either. That's what it's called, free immigration help, and that's how it's always going to be. Okay, moving further to EZ-Vlogs 9040 F4 category. My priority date is 2016. How much time it take? Okay, so I'm gonna assume that you are in all chargeability area. Your priority date is in 2016. Let's take a look at the F4 and see what we got so far for the F4. Okay, so F4, siblings, brothers and sisters of US citizens. You know, if you look at the final action dates, graph A, right now the priority date is showing April 2007. You are in 2016, so you're roughly looking at another 9 years as of right now before the availability of the immigrant visa. It's a lot of time, and I can personally relate to your situation because I myself petitioned for my brother, and his priority date is back in 2020 or 2021. So we still have a long time to wait, really like 13 more years. So that's F4, unfortunately. And you know, as I was mentioning earlier when I was replying to Kills J's comment, that's unfortunately that's what we have to deal with. That's what immigrants have to deal with. Immigrants that petition for their family members. It's really sad that, you know, U.S. Congress decided to limit this. You know, family members that are petitioning, that are doing everything legally. But yeah, that's what we deal with. That's what we have. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Comment from Stephen Banny 4143. Let me click on read more. My wife's I-485 was denied back in May. Sorry about that. Because we did not provide her birth certificate in her native language. Wow. I filed I-290B in June 2023 to reopen the case. I provided the documents requested by USCIS with I-290B. I received a notice of decision from USCIS on July 25th saying they withdrawn the denial. Okay, good. For I-485 because they have enough evidence to make a new decision. Good. I honestly don't know. Honestly, Steven, stuff like this really pisses me off because I don't understand why did they have to send you the denial. They could have just sent a request for additional evidence and say, hey, you know, we're missing this little one document from the case. Just please send it to us, and that's it. You know, I don't get it why they make people go through it. They waste their own resources, you know. They waste their own resources, and then they complain that, oh, we don't, you know, and we have to deal with the delays because of their incompetency. It's really sad. Do you know how long it will take to make a new decision on her I-485? I'm asking because the visa for my wife is expiring in September 2023 if she doesn't get approval or her green card by September. Do you think it's okay for her to stay in the US without a visa? No, definitely not. Do you think it is wiser if I start the I-539 now for her to extend her stay? Yes, 100%. The visa she has is advanced parole visa. Okay, she's working and her employment authorization expired in September 12th. Should I start applying for new employment authorization for her since she doesn't have her green card yet? Please advise. Okay, your channel is one of my favorites when it comes to immigration questions. You helped me a lot with my immigration questions. Thank you very much, Steven. Thank you very much, and really sorry that you have to deal with this. It's really sad. Like I said, this is not a war. It doesn't give. It was a really dumb decision on USCIS side. They could have just sent you a simple request for additional evidence saying that they're missing this from the case. Just please forward it to us, and that's it. Instead, they made you go through all of this for absolutely no reason. Here's a little bit of a problem with the situation whenever it comes to cases that are reopened. Because USCIS at least, not at all for the most part, but at least because they have this online processing times and all that sort of stuff, somehow bound by the processing times in general, the length, that they have for certain forms, for certain petitions. Whenever it comes to reopening the case, they are now outside of that kind of binding, because now they can say, oh, but the case was denied and now we reopened it. So now, most of the times, it can take about 6 months for reopened cases. But again, it is at the discretion of USCIS, and it definitely can take longer. And unfortunately, there isn't a lot of things that you can do, because now you cannot even go to check the processing times and submit the case inquiry, so far so forth. But I would recommend reaching to them again if you are waiting over 4 months and nothing is happening. I would definitely recommend reaching out to them. And it's in September, so you definitely, I don't think you're gonna hear on this case. I don't think you're gonna have the resolution of this case. I'm referring to the 485 case by September. It's because it's really close. We're already in the beginning of August. I don't think. If it is, great. Please come back to this channel. Let everyone know. That would be great. I enjoy reading the resolutions as well, not just the problems. As far as the I-539 goes, I'm gonna ask the visa that your wife has right now. You said it's an advanced parole visa, but because she's able to work in the United States, I'm thinking, does that visa have to do with temporary protected status? Is that something with the employment? Because if it is with employment, then you might not even need to worry about the I-539, and you might just need to talk to the employer and say, hey, we had the I-485 case. It was supposed to be already resolved, but it's not yet. And if you can, we wanted to extend so that she doesn't have to go back, so that she can renew the employment authorization. If that is dependent upon the employer, that would be the best case scenario. But if it's not, if it's something else, then for example, if it's temporary protected status, you might want to take a look into the extending the temporary protected status, because it might be even easier to do that. But if none of that is the case, and it really probably would be helpful if you can come back and let me know what kind of visa she has. It probably would be easier. But I-539, if that's the case, then yes, absolutely, those take for about a year now to process, a little bit more than a year. Last time I checked, I think it was like 13 or 14 months. So it would be perfect. So you would submit the I-539, and while you guys are waiting for the decision on I-539, technically her being in the country is, she's not breaking any, regulations. She's not overstaying. She is waiting for her visa extension, which is completely fine. And hopefully by the end of those 13, 14 months, you should already hear back on the I-485, and by then it will be resolved. Definitely 100% I would not recommend just staying here and not doing anything, because that can cause a lot of problems in the future, including with the I-485. So definitely don't do that. So yeah, it sounds like you're on top of this case. You should be. It sounds like you know what you're doing. So yeah, if you could come back and let me know the visa, I'd be might be able to give you a little bit more information. But let me post the response for now, and we're gonna move on to the next. Probably one more for today from Robers Flanquin XR2QY. I filed 2 I-130s, one for my mom and my brother. I only received an NVC approved application. I only received one NVC approved application. The one for my brother still pending. What can be done in this case? Okay, so Ruburns, so the reason why you received only one is because whenever it comes to parents of a U.S. citizen, and you are a U.S. citizen petitioning, for your mother, and you petition for your brother. Whenever it comes to parents of U.S. citizens, they are in immediate relative category, which means that once the I-130 is approved by USCIS, the immigrant visa is already available. So you get immediately the open NVC portal, you get the welcome letter from NVC, you log into the NVC portal and it is fully open, so you can start your documentary qualification process. And if you're not familiar yet, if you didn't start it yet, I would highly recommend checking out, and honestly anyone who has the documentary qualification in the near future, check out the video on this channel. It's called Documentary Qualification. What does it mean? I think that's what it's called. And it has the night city with big yellow letters on it, documentarily qualification or documentarily qualified, I think. And there you can see the actual NVC portal, how it looks, what you have to submit, DS-260, right? You don't see the actual DS-260 for the privacy reasons. Unfortunately, I can't show that. But you can see the forms, you can see the affidavit of support, you can see what fees you need to pay and what documents you need to submit. So you can start that now. Now, whenever it comes to brothers, and again, it's very personal to me because, like I said in the beginning of this video, I have a petition for a brother. It takes forever. This is forced family preference category, and when we're talking about family preference categories, we're talking about the visa bulletin, we're talking about the backlog, and currently, as of right now, for brothers and sisters of US citizens, there is a 16-year backlog. So if you apply today for your brother, he will be getting his, as of right now, he will be getting his immigrant visa in about 16 years. And again, it is of right. I'm saying it is as of right now because things might slow down, things might speed up. So, Roburns, you know, it's definitely great news for your mom. She will be able to come here pretty quick. But as for the brother, unfortunately, it's, you know, whenever it comes to family petitions, it takes forever. So I would recommend looking into other avenues for your brother to come here so that you guys, you know, can reunite, can see each other. Non-immigrant visa for now, maybe just a regular non-immigrant visitor visa so that he can come here, you know, see you guys can hang out, and he can travel back and forth while this petition is pending. But as of right now, that's really, you know, the only thing that I can recommend. And sorry, I wish it was a little bit of a better news. So let's do another comment for today from Sun and Stars 2. We are not documentarily qualified yet, but I married my husband in Lagos, Nigeria in August 2022. Receipt from USCIS is 2028-2022. Am I right that we don't have to worry about the visa backlog and a visa will be ready for him once we get through the interview, etc.? We are in a wait game right now with our application. Please respond if you can. Sun and Stars, thank you very much for the comment. So let's see, who's petitioning? But I married my husband. I'm not sure who's petitioning. If it's you petitioning for your husband or your husband petitioning for you, it doesn't really matter. But let's say that you're petitioning for your husband. If you're a US citizen, then yes, you don't have to worry about the visa backlog, because whenever it comes to spouses of US citizens, it's an immediate relative category, and that's really, it's pretty straightforward. Immediate relative category, you know, once the I-130 is approved by USCIS, the immigrant visa is already available, so you just deal with the NVC, you deal with the US Embassy, do the interview, and that's it. Still, it will probably take about, you know, year and a half for the whole processing. It does take some time. But if you are a permanent resident petitioning for your husband, now your husband is in F2A category. Now we are dealing with the family preference categories that are on Visa Bulletin. And in that case, yes, you are dealing with the backlog. And for F2A, the backlog is 6 years, roughly, as of right now. So you see, there's a big difference. So yes, that's it. Hopefully, you know, that was helpful. Let me know if you want to learn a little bit more. Let me know in the follow-up comment. And for everyone who's submitting follow-up comments, if you are, you know, providing information for me to maybe elaborate more on the answer, or if you have follow-up questions, just make sure that you are posting a separate comment under any of the videos, doesn't matter which one. Just don't respond to my comment within your comment. because for some reason YouTube does not send me those notifications. I don't know why, but they don't. So thank you very much everyone for tuning in for this video and for asking your questions. Always appreciate those. Like I said, if you have any follow-up questions, you're more than welcome, as many as you have to ask on this channel. Always appreciate your questions. God bless you all, and I'll see you all in the next video.